All right, so we have a brand new tournament, the Panhellenic game. So I'm sure that the Olympic thing is some kind of copyright or something. So we're in the Panhellenic games. There we go. I haven't logged in. So I had probably like one of the worst. Man, I played so good on the front nine, and then it was late. I had a bunch of stuff going on. I don't know. It's almost like I couldn't play in the back. If it could go right on the front, it did, and if it could go wrong on the back, it did. I had every single issue that you could possibly have, and all my own making. 16th, and that's it. And I dropped one on the last hole going for it. I timed out. I would have been at the top of the 30s, and where would that have put me? I would have got my top 10. I was trying to get a top 10 just so I could get my stuff, but it was definitely makeable at the 32. If I'd have came in with a 32, I'd end up third. But I had tons of opportunities, and I literally fell apart on the back. I could not hit anything. That's it. That's how it goes. So, but I haven't logged into my 99 account. I played, and that's part of the issue too. If you do this stuff all the time, or you don't have a job, and you can play 6 accounts in 4 different brackets. I suppose it's easier, but even 2 rookie accounts where you got 2 dissimilar rookies. You got one rookie that's at the top and one rookie that's in the middle, low level. You've got to take 2 totally separate note sets. You can learn something by watching the upper developed clubs, but you still have to take notes specific to that account. And man, just whacked out, just jacked up. What do we got here? Power 0, side spin 9, precision 5. That's not a bad ball. What do we got here? Power 10, 3 side spin, 10 wind, 5 top spin boost. That's not a bad ball either. Not bad. All right, let's. I'm going to log into my other account. I want to see what, I didn't even look to see. I was so focused on the 18-hole course. And I really wish there was like one more round. I felt like yesterday was my opening round, and I have that happen a lot in the opening round where I fall apart like a cheap clock, and then that's good because then I can pick it up in the weekend round. And I've gotten all that stuff out of my system, but now I feel like I got cheated. Let's see what we have here. Are they open? We are, so we can go out and qualify today. This is a full-size tournament, so I can go out there and run through it once and see what it looks like. Hold on one second. All right, so I am checking my 99 account. So I did get a win. One other 27. Somebody asked me about looking at the brackets, and there's a 27 here, and I think in their bracket there was like minus 36, and then like in my 77 account right there it was minus 33, and then we're here or 32, and here we're at minus 27. It's all about tiers. So this is a tier 2. Is that right? No, TIER, tier 2, and my 77 account is in a tier 3, and I'm sure that this one here is in a tier 3, and we all know that there's tiers within tiers, so this is probably a higher tier bracket. If I went through my bracket in my 77 account and looked at all of the people that were in my bracket, you'd probably find that most of them have, on average, it's probably $1 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion earned. So like you think about, they've probably played 10 to 15,000 games. So they've opened up a lot of chests. They've played higher tours, so everybody's got the mass majority of the people in the bracket have the same kind of clubs. What you have to remember when you're out playing is that you might be playing somebody who has better clubs than you or lower clubs than you, depending on where you're at. But that doesn't have anything to do with your bracket. It used to be way back in the day, and I don't think it is anymore, but it used to be like if you got on, let's say you got on as soon as the tournament started and you started playing, other people that were in your bracket that started playing, there was a good chance that you'd be playing against the other people in your bracket. I remember one tournament way early on, probably like early 2018, where I played another person that was in my bracket almost every hole. And normally we can't see what their score is, but I would go in there and I'd see them, and like I'd pick up a shot and I'd get ahead of them by one, and it was kind of fun to do that. But the scores that are in brackets, it really just depends on what tier you're on and then what tier within a tier. I don't understand why. It seems to me that there's tier 1 and tier 2, and then in tier 3 they have about 7,000 sub brackets. I don't think the tier system, and obviously this win is going to throw me into tier 3. Okay, here we go. Let's see what I won. What did I get? In this account, I need everything I can get, because I had one berserker in here. I didn't use any berserkers this week, but anything I get in this account. But there's some of these clubs, because this is a kind of a mid-level account, and I could actually get enough club cards to upgrade some card. The Rocket, the Firefly, the Goliath, 40 Titans. There we go. That's awesome. 10 Kingmakers. And a banner. Dun 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 dun. What's that banner look like? It is special with the double stripes down the middle, showing it's an 18 hole banner. Look at that. And I'll bet you, let's see here. Yep, it threw me. That win's thrown me into tier 3. So now I'm in the tier 3 brackets within brackets within brackets. All right. I'm going to practice it with my 77 account, because we'll get a better idea of jump to season 77. See, this is my season. I should do good this season. Is that how it works? Is there a club that I have in here that I can upgrade? Why were they giving me the what now? Let me open some of these, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back in the saddle again. Let's go look at, let's take a ball. Let's take a Titan. We'll take a Titan on most of these holes. Let's look at hole number uno. These Parc de Paris holes are not my favorite. It's not my favorite course. But we shall see. I think I've done well on some of the tournaments. What have they been in? Fall Major, Big Top. I think I actually won that Big Top tournament. The Metropolitan 9-hole Cup. There's a couple of these tournaments I think I've done pretty well in. I've never won a Fall Major. That's the only major I haven't won. I've came close, but no cigar. All right, hole number uno. There's a bunch of different ways that you can play this hole. So, in a one-on-one, normally what I will do is play to right here, and it takes very little. This is one of those things where you come from the tee box, and you're drawing a line out here, and you're wedging yourself up a couple rings of separation, and my ball guide's going right along this edge. I want my ball guide, actually, I want my second bounce to be like right along that edge right there. And I think it only takes like, with like low-level, mid-level clubs, it only takes like 1 or 2 topspin. It's very little to get your second bounce there. I want my second bounce to be right, just literally clipping the rough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I know, the ball guide doesn't know, but I know that I'm going to put just a little bit of curl on it, and the curl is going to bring me over here, and you've got tons of room over here. And and here's the thing about putting curl on it like that is, let's say you hit a one ring great to the left, and you put, let me turn my curl line on. You're in this situation. Let me get my curl line up here. You're in. You've got your ball guide coming out. So you're in this spot right here, and your ball guide's going like this, and you're going to put that curl on it, and you're going to bring it over here, and you're going to separate yourself from this. Even if you hit a one ring great to the left, it bounced the first bounce one ring great to the left, but it's still going in this direction. So you're still in the clear. And if you hit it great to the right, you're still in the clear. And you're trying to get yourself right into this area. Now, from here, you've got, this is the thing here. If you come over here, there is a rough bump that you can do at the top of this. This green goes, here's the green, and it comes up to the hill, and then here's the sand up here. And I mean, that little rough area is a G string, and then you're in the sand. And it's super, if you've got a wind that's running left to right, and it's running like this, it's a pretty safe bet. You hit it great to the left to right, you make a bad pull, you're still going to more than likely hit the rough. But if the wind's blowing tailwind or headwind and you make a bad pull, you could be in some trouble. And if you hit it great to the left, you're on your arc, so you could have been perfect on a perfect, but when you hit the great to the left, now your arc swings you, your shot arc, you were here, now you hit that great to the left, and now you're in the sand. I think if you got the right ball, but if you were going to bring out a big ball or some special ball from down here, you could do a rough bump and just bleed yourself out. Even if you didn't have enough to get yourself all the way to the cup, you didn't have enough side spin, you could hit this and come at it. It is really helpful to kind of have some backspin, but this hill is so steep right here, it's coming up like this, that it's one of those things that you can start off right in this area right here, just a little bit down the hill, and it's so steep that when your shot comes in, it's sometimes you'll hear people use the term where we're doing a rough bump in the fairway, and you can kind of get the same. If you have a club that's got any backspin, and you start putting that backspin on there on this type of terrain, that backspin's going to be enhanced, and you're going to get a lot more out of your backspin. And so you could kind of woe it up. You could come in here down on the flat and kind of do the same thing. It's difficult from that spot over there, and if I remember correctly, this is definitely long iron. I think if you bring a Goliath, you're definitely in your Goliath. If you're out here, depending on what ball, you might have a red line issue with some other clubs, but I think it's long iron from out here. But the approach shot is kind of difficult, just depending on what you have. I played with a Saturn for years in one-on-one because it has a lot of different tools. It has some backspin, it's got some topspin, it's got curl, it doesn't have super good distance, but it has a lot of tools, and I don't think I had any problems from here with a Marlin of getting into that range. The other way that you can do it is you can try and go from here. If I can get my, where did my pen go? Whew, thought I lost my pen. You can go from this area here and try and come up and do a rough bump and bleed yourself out and end up in this spot. And from here you got all kinds of options because you're not going to be coming in as hot as you would from out here. So you can get kind of a little bit of a run to the cup. You could still do the rough bump, but if you were in this spot right here, you're probably, with the way that rough bump is going down the hill, you're probably just better served to kind of go at the cup. And you'll see a lot of people during the week doing this right here, bringing out something so that they can get that second bounce rough bump. And you'll see a ton of people getting caught up in the sand and hitting the tree and doing all that crap. For my money, like this shot right here is pretty easy to get your, to get your birdie and move along, little dog, because I think this is a par 4, right? Is it a par 4? It is a par 4. So from out in here, you can easily get your birdie. I mean, it's a pretty decent shot, but you don't have, in my opinion, you don't have the best shot at the cup. The middle shot, you do have a pretty decent shot at the cup, but you got to get there. It's definitely one shot at a time. And if I'm going to take the risk of getting caught up in the rough here, getting caught up in this stuff, I might as well bring out a bigger ball. And you can do this with an extra mile. It helps if you've got like at least an extra mile 8 with the top spin, so that you can get over into this area and you're trying to come out and rough bump out of this and end up on the green, and then you're on and one. So I'm always going to go in tournaments. In one-on-one, I'm always going to go here, unless you had some big wind and you could get over to here with a smaller ball. But typically it takes a 3-power ball just to get the window over here. This area over here, I will tell you that if you got a tailwind and it's blowing, let's just pick a rookie speed and say it's 2 miles an hour, it's pushing you forward about 4. And if you've got a headwind and it's pushing you back 2 miles an hour, it's pushing you back 4. So you have a little window here with a 3-power ball, and you're like, well, if I do overpower, I got plenty of room. If it's headwind, you're not going to have plenty of room. You're going to clip. And then it's just going to bleed out, and you're either going to end up on this fairway or to get in behind this tree, and you'll be right here in the rough. But be cognizant that if you've got any kind of tailwind, that it's going to push you forward. I'm not necessarily sure side to side whether it's not really doing that. So if you had a wind that was running at like a 45-degree angle, it's not necessarily pushing you to the left double, but it's definitely pushing you forward double. And it's super easy to overshoot this if you've got a tailwind and you're using the wind to get into the pocket. So what I typically do if I'm using the wind, and if you've got a club like you've got like an extra mile 8, or you're trying to do this with an extra mile 7, where you only got the 50 top spin, what you want to do is, if you've got a tailwind running like this, pinch yourself up as far as you can to the left to open up the window so that you've got more distance here than trying to get into this spot and have the wind push you forward, because it's super easy to overshoot. So I would set my shot up where once again, I've got the center of my bullseye right on the transition, and then the wind's going to push me forward, and I've got more distance in front of me trying to curl it around. It's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal if you don't have a lot of curl. Like let's say you're trying this with an extra mile 7 and you don't have a lot of curl, where you're coming out in this angle and you may only have this. It's not a bad deal just to hit it straight and end up right here and chip it up. I mean, this is I would rather have this shot than this shot every day of the week, because this is definitely a short iron, depending on what ball you brought out, and this is definitely your wedge. Now, let me give you a word of warning. If you're doing this shot right here, it may not happen the first time, and it may not happen the second time, but it is going to happen to you if you're doing this shot, that you're going to catch it and you're going to end up in these trees behind. And when you're in those trees behind there, it can be horrible. Sometimes you can just take a shot to the cup and you still got a shot, but sometimes you don't have a shot. And so let me give you my 2 cents here. If you end up back here behind these trees and you're trying to get to the cup and there is no way to get to the cup, what you do is you move your ball guide around until you find out where, like over here or where it is, wherever it is that you can hit to and get clear of the trees, and you hit it to there. And typically it'll be like on this side of the green or right over on this side right here, and you hit it to that spot. And then you take your shot to the cup, because if you try and force it, you may get through the trees, but you'll still be in the rough right here. And if you were back in here, all you had to do was hit it over to here, and then you could either take the putt or take the chip and give yourself a really good shot at it. But put yourself back on the green. Forget that you came to this hole to get an eagle. The eagle now is you didn't achieve what you wanted on your first shot. Get back on the green. Take your chip, take your putt, and move to the next hole. Don't try and force the issue by going through the trees. And if you will wiggle, and I will tell you that I've been caught behind these trees quite a few times because I play this hole a lot. And it's been in a lot of tournaments. And I've been in the trees pretty much every tournament. I end up in the trees at least once. And I will find the spot that gets me back onto the green, and it's not towards the cup. And I will just lay my ball up, take my chip, and move along, little doggy. It will happen to you. Trust me. And anybody who's played this hole any length of time and tried that shot on the left, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. All right. Hole number 2, man, this is, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous par 3s in the game. And there are several ways that you can go at it. But, and the new pin placement, it really isn't, and I'm not sure in this tournament, let's go look. I'm not sure if they're using hole placement number 1 or hole placement number 2. On the first hole, it really doesn't make any difference, because if you're trying the shot on the left, you're trying to get over there in 1, and where the pin's at isn't that big of an issue. Let's see. Let's go look at Panhellenic games when they announced it. The Panhellenic names, we got strong winds. Get ready in the game for Panhellenic games. Join us in exciting competition. The weather has been wild recently, and reports indicate strong winds. This means there'll be 50% increase in all winds. It doesn't say anything about the second tee, so I'm going to assume that we're on the first tees here. That's good. But on this hole, the new pin placement's like right here, and it's still super tough to try and get a hole-in-one on it. But in some respects, it is better because this original pin placement is rough. I remember seeing, we played a tournament in this, and they showed, I think it was at the beginning of the opening round, they showed like where everybody had shot, or it might have been at the end of the opening round going into the weekend round. They showed where every person that had played, where they ended up on this. And so they had all the little spots where people had ended up. And you notice me drawing stuff in the sand? That is where the majority of the people ended up, was in the sand. And especially this back sand. This is, I mean, there were shots that were on the green, and there were shots and people messed up along this, but the mass majority of people who played this hole in that tournament ended up in the sand. So in my personal opinion, if you walk away from this hole with a birdie, you are one step up on a bunch of people in your bracket. Obviously, if you can get the hole-in-one, you are in the catbird seat. But I am super interested in birdie. And there's several ways that we can play this hole, and they're all dangerous. The first way is you can come out here and try and curl it around. Try and do the backspin, side spin, curl shot. And it's dangerous because of this little hill here. So you're in this pocket, and this pocket is one of those things where if you made a bad pull, you hit it great to the left or the right, it's going to shoot your ball off to the right, or it's going to shoot your ball off to the left. And it seems like the left side is less prevalent than the right-hand side. And what happens is you put all this side spin and curl on it, and your ball guide's telling you that you're going over here, and there's no way in hell that you're going to go straight. And you hit this pocket in the wrong spot, and you end up right into the sand. I tried that shot. I was saying earlier, I played a lot with my Saturn. And when this hole first came out, like in one-on-one, I tried that shot several times just to try and my whole goal was just get up here, get on the green, make your putt, get your birdie, and move along, little doggy. And I don't know how many times I did that and ended up in the sand. It's super easy. There is a rough bump that you can do here, which is super narrow, and there is distortion of the rings if you're having to pull over the sand. So if we've got any of these wind directions where you have to pull over the sand, you're going to have distorted rings, and it is a very narrow, like one ring. It might not even be a full, I think it is a full ring, but it is super narrow there. So it's one of those things, you hit it great to the left, you're off and running, you hit it, you make a bad pull because of the sand on the right, you're either in the sand or you made a bad pull. So if you hit perfect all the time, this might be your pony. The other way that you can go at it, and what you're going to see most people do, is they're going to start off right here. Now, I think in the past we've always done like a plus 10, or there is an adjustment here, and it's not much, and I think it is plus 10. I mean, you could kind of start there. You could take the first shot that you do this week at plus 0, and then see where that ends up, and then you could work it from there. But I think you're going to end up working it towards the plus 10. You got to watch out for wind directions where it's like this, where you have to pull over the sand. And this little rough edge here runs like this. It's flat, and then here's the rough, and then it goes down into the sand. So I really kind of, when I say I'm 2 rings of separation off of a transitional surface, I count this spot right here. I mean, we are definitely, I want to be 2 rings past that over here. And because if we get a wind going this direction, you're going to do the 2 rings. Hold on one second. Housekeeping. They came earlier. All right, what was I talking about? So when you're in this area, I'm going to set my shot up. I want to bring a ball that's got enough side spin so that I can give myself 3 full rings of separation. I want to get as far away from this as possible. But the way that the hole wants you to play it, because of all of the movement that's on the hole, it really wants you to be 2 rings off, which is great on any day that the wind's blowing from these directions. But any day that the wind's blowing from, especially these directions, you're going to encounter that sand if you pinch yourself up. And so it's super. And once again, if you over pull it on that side, this hole is brutal. So what I'm looking for is I want to have a ball that's got enough side spin so that I can try and give myself 3 rings of separation and then bring it back around. And okay, that is, are you done with this hole yet? No, we are not done with this hole yet. This is danger 1. Okay, now we get into danger number 2. Because of how you're coming onto the green, and the green kind of down in this area, it's coming up from the sand and it kind of rolls over in here. When you go from here to your second bounce, you're coming in like right here, so then you're putting topspin on it to get it to roll off to the cup. The ball guide is kind of jacked up because of how you came into it, because you didn't come in up here on the flat where the ball guide can come in. It comes in like it's like this and it comes in on the flat. Then you're seeing a true ball guide. But when you come in this area, now your ball guide is weirded out because it's got this extended, you're going to get a high bounce. And so you're trying to run your topspin so that you can end up terminating right at the cup. And it is super easy. We just got done playing that 18 hole where we had the green, we had the fringe, and then we were in the rough. And this hole is green. You see this fringe, this is an optical illusion. You see the fringe and you see the apron. They're like this. And here's the sand. And if you roll past the cup with any speed whatsoever, you're more than likely, now there's somebody that's going to have it happen to them and they're going to go see, and it can happen that you could get stuck on the fringe, but typically if you have enough speed to get yourself to the fringe, once it hits the fringe and it touches that fairway, you're going to roll right into the sand. And so it's really, really tough. This hole has got this is, like I said, this is one of the toughest par 3s in the game. And I just want to get from here with very little, and I don't think it takes very much topspin. It takes just like 2 or 3, but your ball guide's going to want you to do a little bit more. And I just want to do whatever it takes to get from here, and I don't care if I'm just right in front of the cup. I mean, obviously, I, like everybody else, would love to get a hole-in-one, but I will tell you that if you go through your bracket at the end of the week and you look at par 3s or holes that people screwed up on, this hole's going to be up towards the top of the list, if not the top of the list. It is a tough par 3. It's super easy to get in trouble. I think there might be a sand bump there, but I will tell you, you will never see me demo a sand bump. I am not a fan of hitting into the sand. In real golf, you do not want to be in the sand, and in Golf Clash, I do not want to be in the sand. All right. What do we spend? We spent like 27 minutes talking about the first 2 holes. We're going to be here for a while. All right, this is one of my favorite par 5s in the game. And I really don't like the new pin placement, but the old pin placement, which we should have here, is pretty awesome. I have seen people try and hit over here to do the deal, but I don't know if I've ever seen anybody be successful hitting over here. And I have seen people with some of the newer balls that are out there try and get the run to try and end up in this fairway. And I think you can. I've seen people do it, but I'm not sure, like round after round after round, if it's super repeatable. I think you're going to get caught up in the rough, and it could be like 50-50. And I will tell you, where you don't want to be down here is in that rough. I think if you were up this far in the rough, you could probably still recover. You could get your Nirvana. If you had a Nirvana, you could get it up in here, and you could at least get over. I don't think you'd have a shot at it, but I think you could at least get over to the green side so that you have a short chip. But ideally, we do not want to end up in the rough. If you bring out, so if you're playing from the pro tees, you're going to have to play it from back here. But if you're playing from the rookie tees, you can take your first shot on this side right here and try and bring it up. Now you can see where this, I'll zoom in a little. You can see where this flag post, if I can get my pen to work, this flag post right here is casting a shadow out here, and here's that flag post, or it's not a flag post, it's a light post. The light post shadow, that's kind of the area that I'm wanting to hit to. And with a 3-power ball, Kingmaker works better on the drive, but it's not necessary on the second shot. But it will help you big time on the first shot. That if you come out here with a Kingmaker, you start off on this side right here, and this is one of those things where I want to ride my red line to the left until I'm pinched up against my red line and I'm 2 rings into this fairway. So my ball guide's kind of going like this. If you have an APOC and you set it up right there and you do max curl, you're going to over curl it. If you're using an Apocalypse and you want to do max curl, I really like to do max curl shots as opposed to like half curl. It's more consistent from one round to the next. You just set it up in a different spot. I think you need to be like 4 rings off of that so that you're facing off in this direction, and you do the max curl and you'll run up the middle. So you'll have to find that out with your club based off how much curl your club has and what ball. So if you're like, I don't have any Kingmakers, I got to use a Titan, then you're going to have to get as close to that as you can. And you're using an extra mile, you're going to have to get as close to that as you can so that you can hit the shot out, got bounce number 1, and then you've put that curl on it. So you're trying to bring it up this range. You're going to see a ton of people over curling it and hitting it over here, or clipping this rough and bleeding it out and ending up in front of this. You can still make it, but what you'll have to do is hit from this area up to this area and then run it to the cup. Where I'm trying to get is at least right there. You could get farther up that scale and you'll just, it'll be good, but right here is where the real good shot starts. And what you can do from there with a 3-power ball, if you've got a sniper, is it opens up a window right here so that you can start your shot off here and then you can run to the cup. The green here runs, we're going downhill, 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 and then this area right down here is kind of flat. So it's going like this. And the flagpole is back here, like right at that spot. What I typically like to do is, if I can get my window with my sniper so that I've got a window here, you'll see a bunch of people, probably the vast majority of people that play the hole, they're setting their shot up so that their ball guide's going, I'll clear that off. They're setting their shot up in, let's see if I can zoom in just a little. Here's your window. They'll set their shot up so that their ball guide's going up the hill and then dropping back down to the cup. And they'll work that around. And I want to try and avoid that. I don't like to use the hill to guide because think about it, your shot's going off in this direction and it's going to end up down here because the hill is breaking it. You're riding the terrain and it's breaking towards the cup. Well, if your speed's just a little teeny bit hot, then it's going to go through that break a little bit faster, and it might not break as much because it's running hotter. If your speed's a little slow, it's going to break faster. And so it's just a whole new variable that's really, really hard to get right every single time. So what I like to do is stay down in this bottom zone, and I like to run, if you can get down in here where you can run, what I'm really trying to do is run, everybody else is running right-hand side spin. I'm actually trying to run a little bit of left, or just the smallest amount of right. And here's where the change is from going downhill to where it's starting to flatten out. And I'm trying to actually come at it where I'm riding it like this, or I'm riding right along that line. And I can keep my ball guide so that I'm going to the cup with a little no matter how you do it, because of the way the hill is, at the very end it's going to break a little bit. So if here's the hole and you've got your ball guide going straight to the cup, you're going to miss it. It will break to the right. So this is typically one of those ones where you want to make sure that your ball guide's a little high of the hole, or right at the top of the cup, or just a little bit higher than that, so that it'll, at the very end, as it's just rolling out, it's going to break to the right. There's no way you can stop that. And so you're anticipating that to get into the cup. There's a very slight adjustment here too. And I'm going to have to go back and watch some of the videos to see what the adjustment is here, but it's very slight. And once you get it, man, this hole is definitely albiable. And a lot of people aren't going to albi this hole. But if you can put yourself right here, and instead of trying to ride the hill to go to the cup, you try and get the shot going more straight at it. This hole is definitely albiable. I like this hole a lot. I've made a lot of albies on this hole in that, doing exactly that. And I did that. You can do that even with, like if you've got an extra mile 7, you can get that done. Where you'll run into problems if you've got mid-level clubs is with your sniper. Because like in my 77 account, my sniper is at 172, and in my 99 account, I think it's at 166. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot when you're down here. So, and I've got an extra mile that's only got 50 topspin. So trying to get it up into this area with the curl, You kind of got to work at it to get it here. It's not a bad deal to bring a Kingmaker. Maybe even a 8 power ball, 4 power ball, however you want to look at it, that's got 4 side spin to help you kind of get up into here. And you may get to the same distance here, but you're really trying to bring out the bigger ball so that on the second side you can start off on the green side instead of having to bounce it over. If you bounce it over from here to go to the cup, you'll have to use the hill. You won't be able to get down here to do the straight up shot at it. That's a good hole. We got a great opportunity. I will tell you, that hole can smack you up beside the head, but we do have a good shot. On this hole, I've always done plus 10. I at least start there, and I do the rough bump from right here, going straight at the cup. And I like the old pin. The new pin blows. I think all of the new pins on this course are like, there's some of the holes it doesn't matter, you're just trying to get on the green. But these ones where we're really trying to go for it, I don't really like the new pin placements. But the old pin placement here, I always do this rough bump. And this is one of those rough bumps that I like because you can get up into this area and you're in sniper. And I think it does take a 3 power ball. And that really is kind of depending on the wind. So if we've got a headwind, I think up here you can get up here with a 3 power ball, but you can work this whole line. So depending on which way the wind's blowing, like if you couldn't get up here because you wouldn't be able to work the wind out, you can move your shot. Let's say here's your red line. You could move your shot over into this area, and then it gives you some room to work the wind out. I like this one better because if you're up in this area trying to bring it to the cup, if you hit a grade to the left or the right, you've got some leeway. But if once you start getting down on this edge right here, especially from like the pro tees, and if you're doing the rough bump from here, a grade to the left, you're in the fairway, a grade to the right, you're in the sand, and so it can be a little bit tricky. But I'm going to do the rough bump on this hole every single time. And I am definitely, you're going to see a bunch of people this week hitting their first shot out of this right here. Okay, these are like the borrow mounds. This is a mogul area. Professional skiers come out to this hole to practice their mogul techniques in this area right here, and you're hitting your ball in there. I mean, one blade of grass to the right, one blade of grass to the left, and your ball's shooting off and doing all kinds of stuff. So if you don't want to do the rough bump, try and get where you can start right here, where it's not you're in front of all this crap. And I'm definitely not going to hit from back here because now you put the sand into play, you've put this sand and rough into play. So if you're going to take this, you can get right up here. When this hole first came out, I didn't do the rough bump. I brought my Guardian, I started right up here, and I stuck it to the hole. Get my birdie and move along, little doggy. But you do have a serious chance of hole-in-one with the rough bump. Just saying. Hole number 5. All right. Now, I do like the old pin placement here a lot. And what you can do here, you see, I think if you bring out a super big ball, you can actually start off on the other side. But the whole goal is we just need to get to right here. And you can start off right here and go over there. And I think it's only like maybe 3 topspin. Let's see from where the tee box, we'll draw some lines here. We're trying to get to this area right here. And so we're going along like this. And then we're going to curl it around. So obviously a 3 side spin ball helps. So you don't have to really do anything. You might just like rub up against the nubs. If you brought a Titan, you don't have to do a lot. Give yourself, set this up where you're 2 rings of separation off of that transitional surface and aim your ball in this direction. You're going to have to work out the topspin for your club. And I do think it is just a very little. It's like 2 or 3, and it might be less than that. It's not a lot. And what we're trying to do is just get right here. This area is notorious for catching a slide. Because of all of those little moguls and stuff that are out there, if you get bounce number 1 and bounce number 2 and then bounce number 3 catches the downhill side of you got a mogul like this and your ball comes in and catches the downhill side, it'll just slide out. And you'll end up right in that sand. But this little indentation is kind of the spot that I'm looking for. And the cup, oh my gosh, this is a great shot to the cup. I've made a ton of shots on this hole with a Hornet. This original pin, you can see this is going downhill, this is going downhill, and here's the trough. And the hole, here's the hole. The hole is kind of like right at the end of the trough. And in order to get to the cup, you're pretty much writing down the trough the entire way, but at the very end, it wants to break to the right. And so in the past, I've always set it up so that I'm just right outside, like literally right on the outside edge or of the left-hand side of the cup. Here's the flagpole. I'm on the left-hand side, or just like right off the cup. Not a whole cup. You're not even a quarter of a cup. Just a little teeny bit off the outside edge, and to get that to drop. But if you aim right at it, this is like the hole I was talking about earlier. If you aim right at it so that your speed is terminating right at the cup and you're just trying to drop into the hole, right at the very end, at the last gasp, it'll fall off to the right. We have a great opportunity here. This is a good hole if you've got the ball inventory, depending on what level your QB is. If you can get your QB into this range to get over, so you got a 100% accurate club. It does kind of get a little bit narrow in here, but we really just need to get to there. The other way to play it, and this is how I play it with the new pin placement, because the new pin placement's kind of like right here on this hill, and I don't like this area at all. Partially I don't like it because the second shot going to the cup, the new pin placement's so close to this, and this rolls off like this, that it's hard to get to stop the ball to get to the cup. This would be a great shot for a thorn if you wanted to take it from here on the new pin placement. But the other way you can play this hole is to bring your shot over into here and then take it to the cup. The thing about this shot over here is you got to watch out about that tree. So if we draw a line from the flagpole to that tree, you have to be on that side of the line in order to clear that tree. And you have some options over here. If you were in not quite the right spot or you ended up in the rough, you could bounce it off the island and then get up on the green. But you do have some options over here. But with the original pin placement, I think this is the best spot. Hole number 6. Hole number 6. We got several ways we can play this hole as well. I have always played plus 10 on the drive here. And this is kind of a difficult hole. If you bring out a 3-power ball, I think you're like right up in this area as far as distance. And I think if you brought out a bigger ball, you could try and hit your first bounce right here. But I think even with a bigger ball, you got to do overpower to try and hit on that little spot right there, which is not really my preferred way to hit in. I mean, that's pretty tough to replicate that if you had to do overpower to get to that spot. I'm gonna bounce it over. But if you've got mid-level or low-level clubs and you're here, how much topspin you need to get over to the other side, you're going to be forced to hit off of this little tongue or tonsil or whatever you want to call it. They got their mouth open and that's the tonsil looking out at you. And you're going to be forced to have one bounce on that. So if you hit great to the left or the right, okay, let's take an extra mile as an example. It's 2 per ring. You're 2 per ring off here. Yeah, you're still good. But now on your second bounce, you're not 2, you're more than 2. You might be 3, you might be 4, and you're going to end up in the sand. So when you're taking this shot, not only do you have to make a great pull, especially when you got sidewind days, not only are you going to have to make a great pull, but you've got to hit perfect. If you've got a club like an extra mile that's got the 65 or the 85 topspin, you can set yourself up in this area and you can't do any overpower because you'll end up here. You can't lengthen it out a little. And you can get your second bounce so that your second bounce is in front of it. So if you did catch a great to the left or the right, you're in the clear and you're just rolling forward. There are several thought processes on where you want your ball to land. If you're trying to go straight at the cup, like you're trying to do this shot going to the cup, I mean, obviously this corner right here is great, but it is difficult, especially if you're barely getting to here. Now you're here, and you're barely getting to here, and now you're trying to get your ball to stop right there. It's pretty difficult. You're typically going to land out here in the middle or right in front of it right here. Where I want to get is up in this corner as far as you can possibly get. You're just running your topspin out and trying to get up into that corner. If you're looking at the hole going from here to the cup, depending on your clubs, depending on what the deal is, you can bounce it over and then get over. The new hole is right here or over in this area, and there's a rough bump that you can do, but I don't think here that the rough bump's an option. I mean, you could do a rough bump, but I don't know that you can get it to the cup. Maybe, just depending on ball and what club you had. If you had enough top spin and you brought out a ball that had, you know, maybe some top spin boost to get you over there, but I don't know that I would waste that good of a ball trying to do that shot. You can start off here. It's got a huge backward. So you can start off here with like a sniper. I played this hole a bunch with a Guardian. And with a Guardian, you can put on max backspin, and you're doing a backspin, side spin, curl shot. And you're facing off in this direction. You got backspin, side spin, and curl on it. And you're trying to engage the hill and go down to it. And like all backspin shots, I've made a few hole-in-ones. They always look great, or I've made a few eagles on it. It always looks great, but it's super hard to replicate. It's difficult. It's not that you can't. You're going to see people that get the eagle on this hole. Is this a par 5? Or get the Albie on this hole? Is this a par 5? It is a par 5. You get the Albie going this direction, but it's tough. Every shot, everything going to the cup here is tough. There's no easy way. If you're up into this area, man, these holes are got all kinds of different ways. If you're up into this area, you have some choices. Your safe choice is to come here and hit in here. You could, just depending on what ball and club combo you have, get up in front of this and put side spin. You got to watch out about your curl because of this tree. You could put a lot of side spin on it and try and use that backboard to roll down to the cup, or at least get up on the green and you're hunky-dory. The other way you could do it is there is a shot going here where you can get underneath of the tree and do a rough bump and try and bleed yourself down. Now you're going to be rough bumping and your ball guide's going to be going the hill, and you're going to have to use the drop of the hill to get you to the cup because you can't really get a straight ass shot at it. Now, here is the most dangerous shot ever. I was playing one time with a buddy of mine named Hammer and Hank. For all of you that remember Hammer and Hank, he used to shoot videos for this, and this guy was awesome. And we were playing, was it Tour 4 or one of the tours that wherever Parc du Paris we were in, we were practicing for a tournament. And I was doing this rough bump, and he was doing a rough bump where if you're up in that corner up here, and you got the right ball, you can do a rough bump that's underneath of the trees where you're bumping off from here, and then you can go straight to the cup. And he was sinking it, but I will tell you that there is zero, let me repeat that, zero room for error. And you'll have to take that shot several times in order to make sure that you know what kind of an adjustment, as far as like a variable adjustment that we need to do. So it's not just the wind divided by wherever you're at in your club, but like if we need to add or take anything off and work it out. But it is there. There is a shot there. And you'll really find out when you're taking your drive shot of where the optimal spot is to open up the window for this. But if you like this shot and you miss the window, there is another rough bump that you can do at the top, or you can just abandon the rough bump and just go up here and get up on the green. There's a lot of different ways we can go at it. I think if you laid it out and said you've got to go out here and you've got to take 100 shots and whoever gets the most Albies wins, I would go for this shot, because there's a lot of times I'm going to fail, but it does give you a serious shot at Albie. Serious. If you're good enough. You hit perfect all the time. That's the whole deal. If you hit perfect all the time, you're good to go. All right. There's a bunch of ways to play this hole. First of all, if you're playing a rookie, there is a max overpower hook shot that you can do with like a mid-level, like a level 6, level 5, level 7 extra mile. And I think you're aiming out here towards these trees. You'll have to find the exact spot for you. And you can do it with, I'm not so sure I had to bring out a bigger ball, but I think it's been so long since I've done the rough or the max overpower hook shot out there. I'm not sure you had to bring out a Titan. I think you could do it with a lower power ball. That was the whole deal. I think you could do it with a Marlin or a Quasar, and you can end up getting yourself out into this area. The other way to go at it, of many, is you can start off up here in this corner, and you can try and get your bounce number 1, bounce number 2. What I was looking for on this when I did it was I was looking for bounce number 1 here, and then I was looking for bounce number 1 kind of like the hole earlier where I wanted to be clipping the rough right there. And I know, my shot doesn't know, my ball guy doesn't know that I'm going to put curl on it, but I know I'm going to put curl on it. And so once I applied the curl, then I was out here going this direction. And we really, 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 really need to be out of those shadows and in front of them so that we have a clear shot at the cup. Because these trees are brutal. Brutal. There ain't no hitting through these trees. I suppose somebody will prove me wrong, but there's no hitting through those trees. You're going to have to go around them. Here's the deal about being over on this side, is that when you're going to the flag, to the cup, the green looks like this, and the flagpole is right here. And it is, you'll be out here in a perfect spot, but this is another one of those holes where it's not just about the wind. So let's say you lined up to the cup, you've made a perfect, absolutely spot on perfect wind adjustment. There's still a good chance, and then you hit perfect. There's still a good chance you're going to miss. And you're going to miss because as the ball is rolling to the cup, it's breaking to the right. And it'll look good, and at the very end, it'll just break off the hole. So you have to anticipate that there's going to be some break there. It always helps if you have better ball guide, because your ball guides, especially if you have over 4 ball guide, your ball guide's going to start to anticipate that break. But it's tough it's not that tough to get here. This is definitely a one shot at a time. So you got to get here. But once you get here, the work is not even close to being done. That second shot is still a handful. Now, the other way you can go at it is you can start off from here and you can bounce it over and try and ride this line right here. Now, the trees are going to be in the way and you're not going to have a shot at the cup, but what you could do is kind of bring it around this way. I'm not a fan of just trying to lay it up right here. With the new pin placement, which is over here, this isn't too bad because you could lay it up. The new pin is like right here, and so if you laid it up right out in this area, you got a straight up shot at the cup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out whatever size ball it takes, and it'll probably take I think if it's tailwind and you bring out a power 5 ball, you can get over here, and I'm not sure you have to do any overpower. You might. I almost think you almost always have to do overpower. And I'm going to try and get bounce number 1, and I'm going to try and get bounce number 2, and I'm going to try and end up right here. And you really, because you got to get the distance that it takes to get from here to here, you really kind of want to, you can miss it if you kept your ball guide, your second bounce really tight to this rough. You could get your bounce number 1 and then your bounce number 2 and then woe it up before you get to the hole. Or you can hit the rough and then bleed out, and then you'll end up down in this area, which is still a pretty good shot, but this obviously is better. But let me give you another thing about the green here. If you catch that little light and you end up here on the green, you won't be able to make it. You will not be able to make it. If you're down here low on this side of the green, you just barely got on the green, you can get that putt to go in. It'll still be difficult, but it's makeable. But if you're anywhere on that side of that line, you will not be able to make the putt, because it's so steep of a hill that when you go to try, you can't just run a straight line to the cup. It's one of those putts where you're trying to do this, and it's so steep there isn't enough of that. You'd have to actually putt the ball off the green, and once it gets out into the fringe and fairway, it's not going to continue to roll, and then you can't make a putt from over here. And I've been on this green probably 3 or 4 times where I've been on the green and couldn't make the putt. Didn't have a shot at the putt. I putted the ball down here to get it into the clear. Just tried to get it down or putt it off the green. You can go up this way and then try and and then you'll have a second shot that's going down the hill. But it's almost easier here to go up the hill. So if you're here and you can't make it, put it out here to the fringe or put it off to the green right here, and then you've got a pretty easy shot to get to the cup. You do not want to be on this green on that side of the line. Down here it might not be too bad, but if you're up here, you are screwed. Now, we got a lot of different ways. I'm going to play this every single time where I'm trying to start right here and go to the cup, trying to end up right here. I might demo this way just once from out here, but this is the way that I'm going to play it every single time, because I'm right off. If I can get to that spot, I'm going to make that shot every time. If I don't get to that spot, I don't get to that spot. I'll tell you one more story about this hole. I was playing one of my buddies, Mike D, one time, and we were on this hole. And I ended up right out here, and he ended up right here. He was trying to go for this, and he ended up right here. He brought out a bigger ball, and I just brought out a mortar ball, and I hit it out here. And he was definitely behind the trees. I mean, no shot at it. And I was thinking to myself, we usually would talk on the phone and play at the same time, but I didn't have him on the phone, and I was trying to call him. And I was like, dude, do a max, do a hook. Do a hook shot here. And you could do a max overpower hook shot so that you are not overpower, but you could do a hook shot to get yourself around the trees to get up there. And that's exactly what he did. So if you're in this situation, depending on what club you have, if it has a lot of curl, you can aim yourself like this way so you can't see your ball guide and your shot's terminating right there, but you know you're going to put curl on it and it'll just go around the trees. But if you got a club that doesn't have a lot of curl, what you could do is aim yourself out in this range so that you're terminating right here, and you could do a hook to try and bring yourself around. Hopefully this would be one of those things where you did it in practice, and then you were like, okay, hey, I'm here. Let's practice that hook shot and see if we can actually get up there. That way you know that it's possible, and then you'd have it in your bag if it happened during the tournament. Hole number 8. Hole number 8. This is one of those holes that I can never remember if it's plus 10 or plus 15. You're going to see a lot of people, like the shot to the cup, I can't remember if it's plus 10 or plus 15, and I think this is in Grizzly from the rookie tees. You'll see a lot of people that are starting off over here. When this hole first came out, I think this was like the thought process is a lot of people were hitting over here, and I don't like that. I don't like doing that when we have this wide-ass fairway right here. Like, I'm putting myself right up against this. So number one, if the wind's blowing from this direction, I have the opportunity where I'm going to have to pull over the sand. Now my rings are getting distorted. And if I hit a grate to the right, bam, I'm hitting the rough, and that's not good. I like to set shots up like this because the pin is in the middle of the freaking green. I want to set the shot up in the middle of the freaking fairway. And it's rolling up the hill, and then the pin is kind of like right at the top of the flat. But as it rolls off, it's kind of like this, and then the pin is kind of like right up here. So as you're coming up, you're going up the hill, and then you're trying to bleed it to the cup. This is one of those holes that, once again, the course is dictating. Like, you look like you're going right at the cup, and then right at the very end, it bleeds off to the right. Or you hit it a little bit too quick. It had a little teeny bit too much speed, and it ends up to the left. And so you're like, well, I need to change my wind adjustment. This hole has a lot to do with speed. So yeah, you might need to add to or take off a variable to the cup, but you got to watch your speed here, because if it's going a little bit too hot, it'll go through the break, and if it's going a little too slow, it'll break even more. But we definitely have a shot of the par threes that I've seen so far. The one with the rough bump, the middle one, we got a pretty good shot at hole-in-one there, but we got a pretty good shot at hole-in-one on this hole as well. And I like I said, I like to start off as close in the middle of these shadows as possible. So I'm at the bottom of the hill. I'm hitting on the flat, and I want to get bounce number 1 on the flat, and I want to get bounce number 2 up on the green. And you're still in the hill, but you can get a nice little run, and it doesn't take a lot. Like, you're not having to put a lot on it. I think it's 3 topspin and a little bit of side spin. It's not much. You'll see a lot of people this week that'll overshoot it. They'll catch it a little too fat, and they'll end up in this rough. The sand, I'm sure that there's people that have ended up in the sand, but the sand is usually not in play. There's going to be a bunch of people that are going to prove me wrong on that. But if you're getting crazy with it, I'm sure the sand is in play, but it doesn't take a lot. We do have a great shot here. Great shot. Great. I'm going to have to go back and look at some of my older video on this hole, because I have had some success on this hole, and if you know what the adjustment is on it, you can get it to go in. Hole number 9. What is hole number 9? All right. I'm not going to say, I would have said at the very beginning when this hole first came out that if you've got mid-level, low-level clubs, that this is a Like most par fives in the game are eagle holes with an albie opportunity. There are a handful in the game that are birdie holes with an eagle opportunity. And I would say if you've got mid-level, low-level stuff, that you're probably in this category. Now, the thing that changes the whole landscape here is that we have a much bigger ball collection now. We got power 10 balls, we've got 10 side spin balls, we got all kinds of stuff going on. We got top spin boost balls. We got all kinds of stuff going on where you can take those mid-level, low-level clubs, and if you bring out the right ball, you can turn that club into upper mid-level, lower upper level club and get stuff done. Now there's two directions to go here, and there's several shots on the left-hand side. There's one shot on the right. You're going to try and get out into this area right here, and I absolutely hate this shot. This is definitely one shot at a time, because it is no give me to get to that spot, and you can even be in that spot because it breaks at the very end, and these little ass trees that are right here can be right in the middle of the way that you're trying to go, and they can be in your way. So even if you're down here and you're like, yeah, I'm good, you'll look up and bam, there's a tree right in your way. And what you'll see most people do if they get to the right spot down here, and you're going to see during the week a lot of people hitting to the right, and they didn't get to the right spot. They overshot it. They got caught up in the rough here. I see less people getting in the sand than I do people getting caught up in the rough here or overshooting it or ending up behind the tree. If you talk about the 4 fail points, the sand is the one I see the least. And then from over here, your best shot is to bring out the biggest hitting wood that you have in your bag. And hopefully you brought a big ball, at least a 3-power ball. And there is a lane that you can hit through the trees to try and get bounce number 1 on the rough in the trees, and then you can try and force yourself out to get out here. So that's 2 shots, and then you're trying to go for your eagle. But like there's literally no albie shot. That's the way that you're going to see a lot of people play it that way. But this first shot right here, in my opinion, is so damn dangerous that, hell, if I'm going to do that, I might as well go to the left. And then you want me to hit through the trees. I'm not going to do that. If you're going to the left, you have some options. I played this for a long time with my big topper. You can also play it with your extra mile. But this right here really works out good if you have a Nirvana. Now, I will tell you that you can also bring out an Amazon and get the same kind of thing, but you have no ball guide. So if you got mid-level, low-level clubs and you're going to try the shot to the left, you really want to bring out the biggest hitting rough iron that you have, because the opportunity to end up in the rough is pretty high, and you want to bring out the biggest hitting rough iron that you have. This is a hole that if you've got mid-level, low-level clubs and you're trying to go to the left, put the biggest hitting rough iron that you have in your bag, and then if you end up in the rough, so that you can practice that shot several times, because if you do have to bring out an Amazon, you don't have any ball guide. And so you're going to kind of want to play it a few times and write the number down. Hey, I had to put 3 tops. I was in the rough out here and I had to use my Amazon and I had to put 3 top spin on it, and really kind of get it, because you won't be able to tell how far you're going to go. You have some options over here. The first option is there is a max overpower hook shot that you can do. And this water that's down here is tidal. So it goes in and it goes out, and it goes in and it goes out. And you're going to have to find the spot. I always played at the low tide mark. But depending on which way the wind was blowing, and I always like to work wind out when I'm doing max overpower hooks. So I come out into this area, and I'm doing this shot either, and I said just a second ago that I did it at the low tide mark, but I might have did it at the high tide mark. And I've got my ball guide going off in this direction, and then I've worked the wind out. So if the wind was coming from this direction, I'm going to work the wind out. This direction, I'm going to work the wind out. And then we're going to I'm going to put on max topspin, max curl, max side spin, and I'm going to try and do a max overpower hook shot so that I'm getting bounce number one, and then I'm trying to get my ball going in this direction. And the mass majority of the time, you're going to find yourself caught up in the rough right here. But if you're in the rough right here and you've got a Nirvana or an Amazon, you can easily get your ball up into this area and bring it around and recover, and then pick up your eagle and move along, little doggy. You got a shot at it. If you're in here, you're even better. Now you're in your Goliath or your whatever wood that you brought, and you definitely have a shot at it. It's not the greatest shot in the world, but you do have a shot at it, where you'll be able to bring it around and try and bring it down the hill and go. And you do have a shot at trying to get Albie, if you can make that spot. It's hard to make that spot. I found more success trying to get to that spot with my big topper and working the max overpower hook shot with the big topper, because it has more curl than the extra mile. And just bringing out a big enough ball so that you could get up into that area with the big topper. The other way you can go is if you've got a club that does have a lot of curl, or you bring out a bigger ball. With a 3-power ball, you can get an APOC right into this area right here, and your ball guide's going. Let's see what the deal is. Where's the tee box? This area up here is flat, and then it rolls off, and it does that all the way around. It's rolling off like this. And you want to hit on the flat. You do not want to hit on the side, because if you hit on the side, it's going to shoot your ball straight across, and it's going to be super flat, and there's a good chance you'll get caught in the rough right here. Or if it hits in the front, it's just going to shoot you straight off into the rough over here. You need to hit up on the flat. So if you're pushing the limit, if you're doing an overpower shot, you got to be cognizant. Like, it's maybe one of those things that you're doing an overpower shot, but you still took out a ring and a half so that you would hit on the flat. If you can get up here, you're going in this direction, and what you're trying to do is cover this angle. And so obviously, a 3 side spin, a 4 side spin, a 5, a 27 side spin ball, a 10, anything that you can get that gives you more side spin is going to be beneficial. Getting the distance to get up into that little pocket right there is key. And then side spin's key. A club that's got curl is key, so that you can get bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and you can bleed up and try and end up right there. If you've got the clubs and you bring out a topspin boost ball, you could get from here, bounce number 2, bounce number 3, bounce, and you could make it over to the other side. I've tried that just to see like what it looks like from the other side over here, like if you get to the other side, and I've gotten caught up in the rough. I think I made it over there once, but typically I got caught up in the rough because you're at the very end of your run. You got no control. You got your ball's dying. It's got no speed left, and I think I did make it over once, but most of the time I got caught up in the rough. If you can just get to right there, you're fine. And you got a beautiful, I was using a grizzly. You got a beautiful grizzly shot. Long iron. Whatever long iron you want to use. And there was an adjustment there. And I think, once again, it was like in the plus 10 range. And you've got an albie shot. I've actually made some albies on this hole from this spot. I've made 2 or 3. And you do have a very, very nice albie shot. The problem is getting to that spot. You definitely have to work on hole number 1. This is a great hole, but this hole is going to eat a bunch of people's lunch. I talked about that par 3 earlier that ate people's lunch. This hole right here, even if you're just trying to do this shot right here, and if you have a 3-power ball, you can do this shot. But if we've got a headwind, you'll have to bump your ball up to a 3 or a 4-power ball. Otherwise, you're going to have to do overpower on it. And even with, like, if you're trying to do this with a lower club like a big topper or something, you'll definitely have to bring out a bigger ball just to get to that area. But if you got an APOC, you should be able to get there with a 3-power ball on regular days. This is going to be a great hole. I have demoed this shot over here, and I've taken the shot in one-on-one. Like, this is the direction in one-on-one to try and get through the trees. If you screw up over here and you end up in the rough, start off, try and get into this area right here or this area right here, so that you're going to come around and try and bring the ball around where you could lay yourself up here in front, and you still got a shot at it. I see a lot of people that end up in the rough here, and then they try and force it through the trees. You know, they're trying to go through over here and trying to push themselves through. sometimes you do have to, like you may be behind the tree here where you can't get the shot here, and you have to push it out to just be in front. But if you end up in the rough, don't, everybody's looking towards the green and they're looking at this area. And it's like, step back a little bit. Where can I get over here on my arc? Can I get here? And then I can try and bring it around and end up in this area. Can I get to that little spot and try and bring it around and get to this area? What can I do over there to recover? All right, there you have it. That is the Parc de Paris holes for the Panhellenic games. Scouting report, walkthrough. I will, if I have time today, I'm going to play a qualifying round and go through it and check it out. I'm not really going to worry about percentage number or variables or any of that kind of stuff. The whole goal is just to find out what it takes to get, what it takes on the drive to get to the second spot, and what kind of club, what kind of ball I'm going to need for the second shot. And then I will take that and then start to work on what kind of adjustments I need to make. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a subscriber. Not a subscriber, hit subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell, do all that good stuff. And I will see you on the next one. Stay safe, my friends.